organized by Nanoland Limited. I am Jalashri Dave, your host for this entire webinar and a part of Nanoland Limited. Due to situation of global pandemic COVID-19, the digital world has given us the facility to conduct such a useful webinar. As today being the Earth Day, we have gathered to share our knowledge and ideas with our peers from diverse scientific research fields on learning how can we preserve the Earth's climate. Nanoland is an eminent research organization based in Ahmedabad. We are mainly focused on changing climate and are primarily into deep research on climate change, especially climate cooling. We have a pool of research associates with diverse background affiliated with us who work day and night studying our earth and its atmosphere, analyzing the changes brought in them on a geological timescale. Now, may I please welcome our dignitaries, Dr. Rajesh Kumar Acharya, Chief Scientific Advisor of Nanoland Limited, Mr. Shwetal Shah, Technical Advisor, Climate Change Department, Government of Gujarat, Mr. Brijesh Srivastava, Climate Change Consultant, United Nations Development Programme, and Dr. Bharat Maitre, Professor at Department of Botany, Bioinformatics and Climate Change, School of Science, Gujarat University. Now, I am much delighted to introduce to you Dr. Rajesh Kumar Acharya, who is a leading patent attorney. He is a doctorate in science, specifically in chemistry. He is engaged in a lot of research work on a climate change. He has always guided his research organization in thinking beyond what a normal person could think. He always advises his team on scientific researches with his in-depth knowledge of climate and its related subject. Now, I would like Dr. Acharya to welcome all our speakers and dignitaries and introduce the subject of this webinar. Over to you, sir.
Good evening, friends.
Good evening.
Good evening, sir.
Dignitaries on the web dais and dignitaries on off web dais. As such, today is a Earth Day. And we know that whether the nature is angry with us or upset with us, because we find that in recent times, not only pandemic situation, but there are many volcanoes, many typhoons, many hurricanes, and whatnot. So we sometimes think that we cannot do anything because climate is and globe is such a big thing. Earth is such a giant thing, and we are just like a small ant. But I think if we take care, then we can do a lot. So today is Earth Day. So we decided that let us have how can we preserve the Earth climate? Something that how can we preserve the Earth and that is okay. Then there will be less hurricane, there will be less pollution, and if the Earth health is okay, then there will be less pandemic situation. So today I welcome Mr. Shwetal Shah, who is a technical advisor of Climate Change Department, Government of Gujarat. Also, I welcome Mr. Brijesh Srivastava, Climate Change Consultant, United Nations Development Programme. Mr. Dr. Bharat Maitre, who is a professor of Department of Botany, Bioinformatics and Climate Change. These are the dignitaries and expert into this field. So with this galaxy of speakers, I would like to share something, my views. Can you see the screen?
Yes, we can see.
Yes, sir.
So preserving our planet's health. What is the difference between climate and weather? It is very, very minute difference. Climate is the physical state of temperature. Humidity, atmospheric pressure, rainfall, wind, and any other elements related to weather of an area for a long time. While weather, the physical state of the atmosphere of a particular area and at a given time with respect to heat, cloudiness, wind, rain, etc. for a short period of time, it is known as the weather. Now, what are the ways to preserve our climate? Very important thing always. Because if we'll not take care of this, then God will not take care of us. And sometimes I think that now we are listening that there were dinosaurs in the past. Now that race is not nowhere anywhere. Now we are a human being existing, and if we will not take care of climate, then will be the race which will be gone. And new generation will say that, new race will say that, first of all, there were dinosaurs, then there were human beings, and now we are. So we have to preserve our climate. So we have to reduce, reuse, and recycle. Cut down on what you throw away. Follow the 3 R's: reduce, reuse, and recycle to conserve natural resources and landfill space. Volunteer for cleanups in your community. You can get involved in protecting your watershed too. And educate. When you further your own education, you can help others understand the importance and value of our natural resources. Also, we have to conserve the water. The less water you use, the less runoff and wastewater that eventually end up in the ocean. Plant a tree. Trees provide food and oxygen. They help saving the energy, clean the air, and help combat climate change. But don't send chemicals into our waterways. We have seen many factories, chemical factories, or many other industries, they are rather throwing their waste and wastewaters into the water. Choose non-toxic chemicals in the home and office. Now, also use less energy. Most greenhouse gases are emitted by power plants, industry, and traffic. By using energy efficiently, we can save fossil fuels and protect the climate. Produce clean energy. Electricity doesn't have to come from fossil fuel-fired power plants. Alternatives like solar are even getting less expensive. Producing powers yourself isn't hard. There is a lots of space for solar panels on your roof. And by now, the technology is very well established. Support good ideas. More and more communities, companies, and cooperatives are investing in renewable energies and selling clean power. Also, build and consume sustainability. A lot of carbon dioxide is produced from production of steel and cement. Wood and bamboo, on the other hand, bind CO2, that is carbon dioxide. Consciously choosing products made from sustainable materials helps the climate. Now we have to take the responsibility. How can we keep down greenhouse gas emissions so that all children across the world and their children can live without climate catastrophes? Make responsible choices. cut down on travels, which is very, very difficult thing. We are traveling like a mad person. I'm also doing like that. But one of the best ways to reduce your carbon down on flights and car trips, given the climate group. Climate groups are made up of people you and together they will be bring about big systematic change. We have to learn, we have to teach. Now support a conservation group. Some parts of the earth have a much greater variety of wildlife than others. It's vital we protect these biodiversity hotspots from threats like oil drilling, factory farming, and climate change. You can also avoid or cut down on products that cause deforestation. Now switch to an electric car. If you cannot manage without a car, electric cars emit 50% less carbon pollution than diesel engines, and because they are much cheaper to run, the life green your driving habits. Save fuel and save cash with greener driving habits. For example, regularly check your tire pressure, remove the roof rack, and keep windows closed to reduce drag. Driving at 50 miles per hour uses 25% less fuel than 70% miles per hour. Now, I'll show you one video.
Around the world, renewable energy use is on the rise. And these alternative energy sources could hold the key to combating climate change. What is renewable energy? Renewable energy is generated from sources that naturally replenish themselves and never run out. The most common sources are solar, wind, hydro, geothermal, and biomass. Over 80% of the total energy consumed by humans is derived from fossil fuels. However, renewables are the fastest growing source of energy in the world. Renewable energy has many benefits. First, it can combat climate change because it creates no direct greenhouse gas emissions. The only emissions that they produce are indirect, meaning those that result from manufacturing parts, installation, operation, and maintenance. But even those are minimal. Second, renewable energy can decrease pollution and therefore reduce threats to our health. Wind, solar, and hydroelectric systems create no air pollution emissions, and geothermal and biomass energy systems emissions are much lower than non-renewable energy sources. Third, renewable energy is a reliable source of power. Because renewable energy sources are, well, renewable, they will never run out. Once built, renewable facilities cost very little to operate, and the fuel is often free. As a result, renewable energy prices tend to be stable over time. While renewable energy has many advantages, it is not without downsides. It is difficult for renewable energy sources to generate power on the same large scale as fossil fuels. Building wind farms and dams can disrupt wildlife and migration patterns and lead to ecological destruction. Both solar and wind energy are intermittent. They only generate power while the sun is shining or while the wind is blowing. Batteries can store excess energy for later use. However, they are often costly. While renewable energy presents some challenges, it also offers an environmentally friendly alternative to the greenhouse gas emissions and pollution of fossil fuels. And as advances in technology make renewable energy more accessible, affordable, and efficient, an end to climate change could be within our reach.
has taught us that we can reduce our needs, and so it will save the energy, it will save our climate, and it will save our earth climate, and it will save our earth. No intelligent species would destroy their own environment. We are intelligent enough, so we will not destroy our environment. So thank you very much. Thank you.
Thank you much, sir, for such an informative presentation and sharing your wisdom of thoughts. Now, I request Mr. Shwet Gujarat. He works for the state of Gujarat in climate policy, adaptation and mitigation strategies and climate finance. He is qualified in MTech in energy management and MSc in environment management from Forest Research Institute, Dehradun. Earlier, during 2010 to 2011, he has delivered more than 100 talks and presentations on various issues of climate change, environment management, disaster management in United Nations, universities, conference, seminars, both at national and international level. I now welcome Mr. Shwetal Shah to share his thought with us. Over to you, sir.
Thank you, Jalashri.
No mention.
I'm also thankful to Nanoland for organizing today's discussion on the topic of how can we preserve the Earth's climate. So it's whose duty and whose responsibility and what is our role in preserving Earth's climate? Because as Mr. Acharya said, that there is some concern regarding Earth's climate, and we all require to work very comprehensively to restore the Earth's climate. So what has happened in last few years which has disturbed the Earth's climate? So if we see, say in a little longer time horizon, then post-industrial era. So since we started using the fossil fuels, so around 1860s onwards is considered as industrial era. So from 1860 to 2020, if we take say 160 years, then in this 160 years is not a very long time if we consider the Earth's timeline of millions of years, wherein the Earth's atmosphere has say fixed amount of concentration of various gases, and there is a balance in Earth's atmosphere. So after this usage and increased usage of fossil fuel, we have observed that the concentration of greenhouse gas has increased drastically in these 150 plus years. And we have been able to understand this situation in last few decades only. So today is 22nd April, and globally 22nd April is celebrated as Earth Day. And Earth Day movement has started in United States, and now globally people voluntarily celebrate this day every year. And if we talk about today's theme globally, then the theme of this year's Earth Day, it has completed 50 years last year. So this is 51 year of the celebration of the Earth Day. And the theme of today is a healthy planet is not an option, it is a necessity. So even after say celebrating so many Earth days, we have not been able to save the Earth. So what we should do? So that question arises. And Mr. Acharya also suggested some of the solution, including renewable energy and electric vehicle that can save our Earth. So this is a fact that change is a constant, but we require some positive change in our say uh, in our acts and in our deliberations. And basically, if even if we see the progress in the population, then if we consider this last 160 years, how many times population on Earth has also increased? So it is around 7 times the population of Earth has increased in last 160 years. So this population pressure is also there on natural resources. So that is not the only climate change, but there are several reasons behind climate change, and one of the major reason is the pressure on precious natural resources. If we talk about say Gujarat, Gujarat is a westernmost state in India, and earlier it used to be Bombay state. So in on 1960, 1st May, so before say around 61 year from now, Gujarat was separated from Bombay state. So since then, the area of Gujarat is fixed, but population, if we see, it used to be 1.7 crore population in 1960, and today we are almost around 7 crore population in Gujarat. So there is a threefold increase in population of the or 3.5 times increase in the population of the state, whereas our natural resources are quite fixed. The amount of say oxygen available, or the air quality that we have, or water quantum of water we have, is a fixed. We cannot increase. We can increase the production of electricity, power plant. We can increase the number of vehicles, but we cannot increase certain fixed natural resources that we have. So certainly there is going to be pressure on these natural resources. So how we can now manage our things? So even if you see the state of Gujarat, then we have progressively seen that water supply has increased, improved. So now we have water supply uh, because of the water management of the state. We can get water in our tap. There people who are elder and earlier used to know that we used to had a very huge scarcity of water in our say towns and cities, but now because of the river linking, because of the major projects for water harvesting, and also minor projects for water harvesting like and through this artificial canal network, we have been able to say make water available in entire state, and we have also been able to maintain our groundwater level. So these are some of the result of the good practices or the management of natural resources. But at the same time, there is certainly say pressure on biodiversity and ecological things. So we have limited amount of forest already in Gujarat because of the semi-arid type of climatic condition. Our forest resources is very less, and because of the urbanization, our cities have grown, and because of that we have cut so many trees. So how we can bring balance to say our oxygen requirement or our air quality requirement? Because at the same time, if we see in last 61 years, the number of vehicles increase in Gujarat is also tremendous. It has been 132% growth in number of vehicles in every 10 years. So if we see the data, then on 1st May 1960, Gujarat had only 8,000 two-wheelers. Today, we have more than 2 crores of two-wheelers only. So how our ecosystem can absorb this load? So these are the reason behind the climate change, and globally scenario is same. However, I would say that Western countries' lifestyle and their resource dependence is quite more than what we have. So global average consumption of electricity is per person around 7,000 to 8,000 units per year. So for that, how much amount of fossil fuel they require to consume, and if we even at that point in time, even before independence, Gandhiji used to say that if we adopt the lifestyle of say UK or other Western country, and if Indian people live with say that type of that type of resource dependency, then we require three planets to serve our purposes. So on this Earth Day, we require to understand that who is responsible for say the disturbance in Earth's balance, or now whose responsibility is there to save the Earth. And it is very high time now, because before 50 years when Earth Day celebration started, the severity of things was not as much as today what we have. The CO2 concentration has increased from 270 ppm in 1860s 70s to around 420 ppm today. And there is a threshold that this increase cannot be sustained after once it will reach the equilibrium of 500 ppm or so, 470 to 500 ppm. If the concentration will be there in our air, then it will be very difficult for us to survive. And today what we are seeing outside is the coronavirus pandemic, and this pandemic is also a result of a zoonotic disease. So the source of this virus is from animal, and somehow it has entered to human system in December 2019 in Wuhan, China. So this is one of the classic example of our time, that how severe situation can be created if we do not live in harmony with the earth and with the harmony of ecosystem. So whose responsibility ultimately? So collectively responsibility is of making this system work or make the earth livable is all of us. So international organization like United Nations and various bodies or various organizations working under the United Nations, so they are also constantly working in this area. If we see the 1972 conference which was held in Stockholm, then 1992 Rio conference, and as a result of Rio conference, we had three international convention, including United Nations Convention conventional framework for climate change. So since 1992, so that is say 30 years from now, we are working comprehensively on climate change, but still results are not visible. So in 1997 we had Kyoto Protocol. Then also annually we do have brainstorming and discussion at international level for combating say climate change globally. And in 2015 we had this Paris Agreement. So in Paris Agreement, it has been agreed that every country will contribute something, and there has to be a division of responsibility. So resourceful country will allocate more resources, and developing countries will have. So we had a principle of uh, common but differentiated responsibility. So even in family, we have different responsibility. We have, say, grandparents, parents, and children. So this makes a family. But in family, everyone has a different role to play. Similarly, every country has a different role to play globally. So international organizations are working responsibly to save the earth and various components of our fragile ecosystem. Then national governments are working. Even our Indian government is working very comprehensively and working very hard in this dimension, and we are considered to be one of the most responsible country globally when we compare our country with United States or country like China. Then even within the country, there is a role of subnational government. So we have states as a, or provinces as a subnational level government. Then we have local governments, we have municipal corporations and municipalities. So at all this level, climate change and discussion on resource management is required to be penetrated. Right now, only focus is on service providing, but we do not think of long term. So if we are getting, say, electricity, so we have to think on how electricity is being produced. So it is not only that we require 24/7 electricity supply or 24/7 water supply, but from where this electricity is coming, from where this water is coming, and how it is bringing a balance within the Earth's ecosystem. So we have to be very conscious on all this aspect. All our unit, like even if the village, if we take as an unit, or a small town, then big cities, so all these are local governments as per our constitutional amendment act of 73rd and 74th amendment that happened in 1992. I think Mr. Acharya is more aware about those legal things. So all local governments are also required to be working in harmony with the balancing of the nature. Then role of corporates. So even small industries, big industries, everyone has a role to play. Civil society organization like Nanoland. So this organization, non-government organizations are working in all different domains. Either they are doing some conservation of wildlife, they are doing some services of, say, tree plantation. Then people are also coming up with demonstration of new technology and new demonstration which are environment friendly. Then as an individual also we have our role, because government can just make policies and programs, but individually we have to work in that direction. So as an concerned citizen, we have to be conscious in all aspects: the waste management that happen at our household level, the energy conservation that we do, the water conservation that we do, or the plantation, or whatever we can do. We can also monitor our own consumption, that what we are consuming and how much we are consuming. Even we can avoid using plastic in our daily life. So these are some of the ways individually we can contribute. Financial institutions have very big role to play, because they decide that how resources will be allocated. Now, resource optimization is required at what level? So I have given some examples. As I told, energy, because it is one of the chief contributor of greenhouse gases globally. So renewable energy transition is must, and whether we want it in 2030 or 2040 or 2050 or 2060, because different countries have given different timeline by which they will go 100% to renewable energy. Our country is also very progressively working on this. Our Prime Minister had revised renewable energy target drastically. Earlier, we had a target of 20 gigawatt of solar energy by 2020, but in 2015, our Prime Minister said that we will have 175 gigawatt of renewable energy by 2022. And we are really progressing. We have already achieved 80 gigawatt plus installed capacity, which is already working by end of 2020 in India. So definitely by 2022, no doubt there is some interruption because of this COVID situation, but most probably we will achieve the target of 175 gigawatt of renewable energy by 2022. Then we have larger target of 450 gigawatt of renewable energy by 2030. I was just reading yesterday that Scotland has achieved 97% of its energy is coming from renewable sources. So it is possible. And now it is become more viable and cheaper. So that is achievable. Another thing is transport, because after energy production, transport is the biggest, emitter of greenhouse gases. So transport sector we also require to be carbon neutral, and for that electric penetration of electric vehicle and energy storage is getting momentum. Water is very important component, so how we can do better and better water management. Biodiversity is very important for the planet, and all component of biodiversity, from say insect level, flora level, fauna level, which is phytoplankton, zooplankton level, and ocean, to big mammals, everything is required to be conserved, and everything, every say component of biodiversity has a contribution. Our food is very fragile. Our agriculture system is highly dependent on natural resources. So if we want a sustainable, say food supply, we require earth to be saved. We require housing for all. In our country, 40% of people do not have their own houses. So our Prime Minister is also working that by 2022, everyone should get the house. Then in infrastructure, in technology, because nowadays we are using so many technology and artificial intelligence and Internet of Things, so that we can get the services, or we can perform things more efficiently. So Uber is one of the example of technology demonstration. So without owning a car, you can still use a car, and wherever you want to go, you can just go immediately. So by using such new technology, such drastically promising technology, we can also do resource optimization. Now, how we will implement this and how we will monitor, because we require to be in a very planned way, so that the year for which we set a target, we really achieve it. So right now under Paris Agreement, every country was supposed to make their own nationally determined contribution, and they had to develop it on their own and submit it to say international forum. So it's a sort of voluntary mechanism, but still it has got some enforcement, so that we can achieve the 1.5 degree target, or what I said earlier, that we do not want the CO2 concentration to go beyond 470 ppm. So there are several indicators. So this is one of the indicator that CO2 is increasing. So still some emission is happening somewhere, because atmosphere do not have boundary. So we do not know from where it is coming. But now through satellite technology and various other new technology, everything is possible to monitor and verify. So monitoring and verification is also very important. Then reporting of what we do. So we have to submit as a nation biennially. Some corporates are also doing carbon disclosure voluntarily. So everyone requires to report what they have done and how they have done. We have to declare. We have to declare in advance. We have to declare afterward also that this is our planning and this resource we have used. So every city level, every industry level, such declaration and verification are required to be done. So these are the India's NDC. I think I will not go into detail. These are some of the example of what Gujarat has done through various policies and programs, because we have dual role to play. One is the development. We require to provide every necessity to our citizen. At the same time, we require to conserve our natural resources. So this balance of sustainable development is very important, and rather it is an opportunity for us so that we develop ourselves with sustainable practices. So I think India is taking a big advantage of this situation also for its own development, and without adding a burden to, say, our natural resources, our development is happening. So these are all priority sectors for also climate change adaptation, because already whatever climate has changed is also affecting us. So one thing is that we require to stop new addition of greenhouse gases into the atmosphere, and whatever addition has happened, and because of that whatever changes are happening, that we also require to control. So water resource, agriculture, disaster management, coastal areas, livelihood, biodiversity, forestry, infrastructure and industry, health. So these are all comprehensively required to be taken care. So on this Earth Day, we can take a pledge that individually and in whatever position we are, if we have our own industry, if we have our own, say, education setup or whatever activity, we will be conscious on the resource optimization and resource conservation for saving our earth. And this is very high time. We can now not delay, or we cannot pass on the burden on to the next generation, that future generation will see what will happen to them. So this philosophy or this will not work. So we ourselves, in our time, in our lifetime, we require to work very comprehensively now, very systematically, very planned way. And now we have solutions in hand. Earlier, we did not had such a drastic solution for, say, example, renewable energy or monitoring of large thing. But now, since we have this advantage of this evolved technology, we can definitely say work on these areas. Thank you for giving me this opportunity to share my thoughts, and I'm open for the discussion. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Shwetal Shah, for sharing your thoughts with us. I now would like to request and welcome Mr. Brijesh Srivastava. Mr. Srivastava has over 14 years of work experience in the development sector, with the last 8 years in the domain of climate change. He is currently associated with the United Nations Development Programme as a consultant, climate change based out of Ranchi, Jharkhand. He has vast experience of working with state governments and multilateral organizations. His areas of expertise is climate change adaptation and mitigation and national and international policy responses to combat climate change. He has completed Bachelor of Arts in Geography from Shahid Bhagat Singh College, University of Delhi, and Masters in Geography from Delhi School of Economics, University of Delhi. I now request Mr. Srivastava to share his thoughts with us.
Thanks, Jalshri, for introducing me to participants. And thank you very much to Dr. Acharya and Shwetal sir for very insightful presentation. A very good evening to all. I hope all of you along with your family members are fine as we are in the middle of this crisis of pandemic. So first of all, I must say that I am very pleased to be with all of you this evening to speak about the topic which is critical at this moment. So basically, among the challenges India faced, it is very clear that climate change is among the top three. In fact, we have different set of climate change related challenges, and the very fact that weather has been changing in a very unexpected manner, which is different from the weather pattern we have experienced since last several years. And it is also very fascinating to observe that how our agricultural pattern and farming practices have developed to adjust with the current climate change. Right now, I'm working in one of the most backward states, which has been severely impacted by climate change, as highlighted by the recently published vulnerability report by the Department of Science and Technology. Actually, when these weather patterns changes, it changes the way people live and sustain themselves because they have very deep-rooted habits, which they acquire over centuries. And now we have seen that when these extreme events happen, it has impacted not only the people's lives, but also different critical sectors of our economy, like industry, energy, forestry, water, etc., agriculture also, which really sort of tell us how central this challenge is to deal with, not only for years to come, but also for decades as well. So we really have to gear ourselves up. So in this context, I would say, apart from sound policy making at government level, be it central government or state government, a very important aspect is financing. As through the climate financing, we will be able to address this challenge of climate change. So Mr. Acharya and Mr. Faisal has already set the tone for this webinar. And now I would like to emphasize on the very important aspect, that is climate financing. Let me share my screen with all the participants. My topic is climate finance need, mechanism and challenges. So first of all, we will see what is climate finance. Basically, climate finance refers to local, national or transnational financing drawn from public, private and alternative sources of financing. And it seeks to support mitigation as well as adaptation actions that addresses climate change. The United Nations Framework Convention on Climate Change, that is UNFCCC, Kyoto Protocol and the Paris Agreement, all of these three conventions call for financial assistance from countries with more financial resources to those that are less endowed and more vulnerable. Basically, they talk about developed countries should help in terms of climate financing and transfer of technology to developing countries, so that they will be able to tackle the challenges posed by climate change. So it is in accordance with the principle of common but differentiated responsibility and respective capabilities. As all of we know that historically the countries like US, USSR and other developed countries, they have polluted a lot in the pretext of their development. And now they are kind of saying developing countries like India, China and other developing countries should take the lead in terms of reducing the greenhouse carbon emissions. But as per the principle enshrined in the Paris Convention and also in Rio Convention, common but differentiated responsibility, those who are historically responsible for emission, they should lead the take, not developing countries. Next is the background of climate financing. Since climate change actions have started, the finance angle have been discussed with due consideration. Like the 92 Rio Earth Summit can be called pioneer in the climate finance regime, as it started the climate finance mechanism through GEF, that is Global Environment Facility. The climate finance regime by and large follow the principle of common but differentiated responsibility, as I highlighted in my last slide. And through the Cancun Agreement in 2010, developed countries committed to the goal of mobilizing jointly $100 billion per year by 2020 to address the need of developing countries. Besides that, the Green Climate Fund was established in Cancun Agreement and designated as the operating entity of the financial mechanism under UNFCCC. Paris Agreement also talks about climate financing, wherein the developed countries confirmed this goal of supporting developing countries. That happened in 2015, where they have reaffirmed their goal of supporting developing countries. Now, what is the need for climate financing? As we all of know, the ill effects of climate change are already visible in the form of erratic rainfall, rising number of cyclones and their destructive capabilities, increase in extreme weather events which we have experienced since last several years, and glacier melting events. The global south, basically the global south means developing country, is the main sufferer of climate change ill effects, but their adaptation and mitigation capabilities are NIAC. They depend heavily on climate finance, so we need climate financing. The target of limiting global warming below 1.5 degrees centigrade as per Paris Agreement is possible only with the fast-paced mitigation activities. It needs heavy investment in green technology for renewable energy technology. The World Economic Forum also projected that by 2020, about 5.7 billion US dollar needed to invest annually in green infrastructure. But the current commitment under Paris Agreement of 100 billion USD is only a small piece of the 5.7 billion USD. Hence, significant funding is needed to meet the investment needs to address mitigation and adaptation challenges. Now, there are three global climate financing mechanisms. One is Green Climate Finance, Adaptation Fund, and GEF. I will not go into the detail of that. That is available in public domain. You can log on to their respective sites and all the informations are available there. Now, climate financing in India. As Dr. Shwetal also highlighted, India's nationally determined contributions are national binding targets adopted under UNFCCC, wherein we have a set of goals. Some goals are quantifiable and some are non-quantifiable goals. And under those goals, India has to reduce GHG emission under this, which requires climate financing. The establishment of climate finance unit in 2011 in the Ministry of Finance, in fact, gave shape to the climate finance mechanism in India. Here, Niti Aayog is primarily responsible for the estimation of finance requirement in the country. Some of the sources of climate finance in India are like union and state budgetary support. Like in union budget recently announced by the finance minister, we have lot many provisions to address the problem of climate change. And similarly, different state governments have also announced in their budgets for dedicated amount for climate change. National Adaptation Fund for Climate Change. It's a central sector scheme where NABARD is the national implementing entity, and basically the fund is routed through the NABARD and it is being implemented by the national implementing agency. Like in Jharkhand, we have Forest Department, and we are implementing one project basically focus on the adaptation. Similarly, National Clean Environment Fund, the Compensatory Afforestation Fund, managed by the Forest Department in all the states, that is CAMPA. Mitigation part of the NDRF, National Action Plan on Climate Change, which has 8 national missions, and recently Government of India has also introduced 3 more missions, and they have channeled financial resources through these missions. And similarly, different state governments have also formulated their state action plan on climate change, wherein they have charted the strategic path for addressing the challenges related to climate change adaptation and mitigation. And they have also charted out the different financing source in their respective state action plans. So these are the sources of climate financing in India. However, there are some challenges associated with climate financing, like definition of climate financing. Various organizations define climate finance in different ways, making it difficult to synergize the operation. Basically, there is no single definition of climate finance, which is kind of hindering the synergizing the operations related to climate finance. Lack of standard accounting framework. It leads to double counting, inflated numbers, repackaging the existing aid to look like new aids, etc. Basically, here I would like to tell all the participants that what happened. Countries are mixing ODA, that is Official Development Assistance, with climate finance. So both are different. ODA is different and climate financing or climate support is different. ODA is for development support and climate financing is basically dedicated only for addressing the challenges related to climate change adaptation and mitigation. No scientific analysis. Experts on climate change feel that 100 billion USD under UNFCCC is not sufficient, and the number was not a product of sufficient analysis. flow of money. The money flow is irregular, and also all the climate financing is heavily biased towards mitigation and adaptation activities are lagging. These are some way forwards: fast forwarding the UNFCCC negotiations and kickstarting the process. Climate finance must fall under the accountability institutions like Comptroller and Auditor General at the global level too. Public institutions must make every penny count and ensure quality as well as quantity. Government should also continue to raise the level of ambition in national and state level climate action plans. Favorable policy and institutional support are necessary for climate financing. Here, the private sector should also further engage to make their contribution. Public and private sectors must cooperate to enhance finance in sectors beyond renewable energy generation and towards adaptation. Basically, state government or government of India, they can't do it alone. We need to rope in private sectors, and they need to work in cohesion, not in silos. And basically, their focus should also be on adaptation apart from mitigation. So basically, this is my short presentation on very critical issue of climate financing. Thank you. Over to you, Anchor.
Thank you, sir, for enlightening us with your presentation.
Thank
Now I would like to request Dr. Bharat Maitre to enlighten all of us with glimpse of his beliefs about climate change. Dr. Bharat is a professor at Department of Climate Change, School of Science, Gujarat University. He holds a PhD in botany from Maharaj Krishna Kumar Singh Ji Bhavnagar University. He is a member of the editorial board for research journal number 3. He was nominated as member of assessment committee for revised merit and normal assessment scheme for scientific and technical staff in Central Salt and Marine Chemical Research Institute CSIR Bhavnagar. He has also worked as a nodal officer in All India Survey of Higher Education Survey. He has performed duty as a chairman, convener, examiner, paper setter in university examination, BSc, MSc, MPhil and PhD. I now request Dr. Bharat Maitre to share his thoughts. Over to you, sir.
Thank you, Ms. Jalashree Dave.
Thank you.
On today, so wish you all happy Earth Day. And on this Earth Day, a webinar organized by the Nanoland Limited, Dr. Acharya ji gave us this opportunity to share such information regarding to this climate change and how to preserve climate on Earth. So basically, as a university academician and researcher, so based from where the subject content in an academic way, and after the basic knowledge given to the students and our role to introduce them in a research area or research era for that part. So if you have some kind of this solution content ability, then you go for this research works and that part. Because Indian government, after 1969, the National Conference on Environment, so generally the formal education process, where they from school level to college or higher education level, the environment awareness programs or environment education is must and it's necessary, and it is direction by the Supreme Court given to all of us. So every citizenship, those who want to study or learn about this environment and environment related subjects. So on Earth Day, with regarding to this climate condition and for that preservation, that which kind of content we have, because on Earth, where all this kind of situation, either it is the physical properties, either it is the chemical properties, or maybe biological properties in nature, because mostly the natures play an important role. Nowadays, we are suffering from pandemic activity since last year. So we know what is the important role played by this microorganism in a nature. So before that, if we don't any kind of information, any introductions of that microorganism, we are not able to get. But nowadays, so after that, so we are going for the vaccination for the process and all those things which are happening. So every scientist, every knowledge-bearing persons, and all the enthusiastic, those who have to have a working ability and give their particular knowledge for the society, for the peoples, and to conserve the earth. So they are trying for that. So I have this opportunity to take this. So I views to you. So on that particular portion, that on this Earth Day, that we have a topic, how can we preserve Earth climate? So I will share my slide to them. Jalshree Dave, those who give my introduction, so no need for that further long. Before we start that climate change research policy and education, so also there are some in the webinars, students and some colleagues and some academicians also participate in that portion. But before that, going that in most of the conference, seminars, webinars, and some kind of this policy making the authentic agencies, national or international level, and also some reports that we are finding for our some content regarding to this part. So the authentic agency like United Nations Environment Program, United Nations Development Program, then US Environment Protection Agency, National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration, Intergovernmental Panel on Climate Change, National Center for Atmospheric Research, Center for Remote Sensing of Ice Sheets, National Climate Data Center, World Meteorological Organization, United Nations Framework Convention on Climate Change, Pew Center on Global Climate Change, Food and Agriculture Organization, National Snow and Ice Data Center, International Biospheric Programs, Green Climate Fund and Climate Investment Fund. These are some very few names where we are introduced when we have some kind of the report or maybe some kind of references regarding to this climate change, and what is the role, what is the action plan of that, and what is the key policies, and which kind of conference which are held at, and which kind of topic content they have. So we almost heard all those things regarding to this part. We also said that WMO, World Meteorological Organization, where there is some kind of this give in a particular report that the 3 warmest on record, despite of this El Nino effect, the global average temperature about 1.2 Celsius above the pre-industrial, like means 1850 to 1900 level that in this part. And during this 5 years, where almost the warmest on record is from 2011 to 2020, the warmest decade which are on record. So the global warming or maybe increase in the temperature, it's have a major key role, and for that on Earth that we have to maintain this kind of this temperature event, and any harmful this condition, or maybe not only even in a particular one part or two part, but many parts which are affected by this. The report documents indicate of the climate system, including greenhouse gas concentration, increasing land and ocean temperatures, the sea level rise, melting ice and glacier retreat, and extreme weather. It also highlights impact on socio-economic development, migration and displacement, the food security, and land and marine ecosystem. So these are the some basic content where they found regarding to this particular global warming or any kind of increase in the temperature part. World Meteorological Organization, where the global atmospheric the warming program, where latest analysis of observation from the WMO GAW program, it shows globally average surface mole fraction for carbon dioxide, methane, and nitrous oxide, and compress them in the mole fraction during the previous year and with the pre-industrial levels. It also provides insight of the change in radioactive forcing by long-lived greenhouse gases, means LLGHGs, and contribution of individual gases to this increase. An interpanel climate change special report on the impact of global warming, like the global warming means this 1.5 degrees Celsius, which are increased, and IPCC special report on the impact of global warming, where this about the pre-industrial levels and related global greenhouse gas emission pathways. In the context of standing the global response to the threat of climate change, sustainable development, and efforts to eradicate poverty. There are some atmospheric measurements. Reveal strong foresting, net CO2 update from land use change, and forestry currently afford approximately. This land carbon sinks played a key role in greenhouse gases emissions target under the United Nations Framework Convention on Climate Change, and they are expected to be a major components of the nation's strategy for future greenhouse gases mitigations. Estimate forest carbon uptake based on tree diameter and height measurement at the national network on study sites and atmospheric equation, then infer carbon mass of this measurement. This approach, which is required by current Intergovernmental Panel on Climate Change guidelines. According to NASA and IPCC, global temperature has increased, CO2 level has reached 400.71 part per billion ppb. Loss of world forest cover between the period of 2000 and 2012 is 1.5 million square kilometer. Reduction of land ice to 287 billion metric ton per year. Sea level rise is 3.2 millimeter per year, and loss of Arctic ice cover at the rate of 30.3% decade. Increasing risk of irreversible changes due to the large-scale shift in the climate system, such as several sensitive species, such as ocean corals, aquatic birds, reptiles, such as sea turtles, and amphibians are facing extinctions. Falling of crop costs to many East African countries, decrease in potable water in Mediterranean and Southern African, and increasing flooding. The storm events and the hurricanes in USA, droughts, and deadly heat waves in India recorded in many parts of the world. Anthropogenic release of greenhouse gases, CO2, CH4, water vapor, N2O, O3, HFCs, PFCs, and SFCs reflects a portion of a solar energy back to the earth on increase the temperature goes through in ocean currents seasonal weather pattern, and ultimately change the climate. Deforestation reduce the CO2 sink and the further enhance the greenhouse effect. Such greenhouse gases like the methane, where here the some data regarding to it, mostly the 70% of the radioactive forcing by lifelong greenhouse gases, where the methane, the average part, which are increased in this last decade. Also the nitrous oxide contributes approximately 6% of the radioactive forcing by long life greenhouse gases. It is the third most important individual contributor to combined forcing. N2O is emitted into the atmospheric from both natural and anthropogenic sources, including ocean, soil, biomass burning, fertilizer use, and various industrial processes. The globally average nitrous oxide fraction in 2070 reached 329, and which 9 ppb above the previous year and 122% of the pre-industrial level. The annual increase from 2016 to 2017 is higher than the increase from 2015 to 2016 and practically equal to the mean growth rate over the past 10 years. The likely cause of nitrous oxide increase in the atmosphere are an increased use of fertilizer in agriculture and increased release of nitrous oxide from soil due to an excess of atmospheric nitrogen deposition related to air pollution. Other greenhouse gases, sulfur hexafluoride is a potent LLGHG. It is produced by chemical industry, mainly as an electrical insulator in power distribution equipment. Its current mole fraction is more than twice the level observed in mid-1990s. The stratospheric ozone depletion, chlorofluorocarbons, together with the minor halogenated gases, contribute approximately 11% of the radioactive forcing by lifelong greenhouse gases. While CFC and most halogens are decreasing, some hydrochlorofluorocarbons, HCFCs, and hydrofluorocarbons, HFCs, which are also potent greenhouse gases, are increasing at relatively rapid rates, although they are still low in abundance. The bulletin primarily address these lifelong greenhouse gases. Relatively short-lived troposphere ozone has a radioactive forcing comparable to the halocarbons. Many other pollutants such as carbon monoxide, nitrogen oxide, and the volatile organic compounds, although not referred to the GHGs, have small direct or indirect effect on the radioactive forcings. Aerosols like the suspended particulate matter are short-lived substance that alters the radiation budget. All gases mentioned here as well as aerosol are monitored by this global atmospheric warming program with support from World Meteorology Organization members and contribution networks. So these are all the regarding to the particular greenhouse gases, because in a later condition that if any kind of the increasing in temperature, so the role of the greenhouse gases is small. So any kind of increase in the greenhouse gases, and mostly we say that it is by this human being, it is by the anthropogenic activity, by the sustainable development part, by this agriculture or industrialization effect. So if any kind of these activities or sustainable development which are going on, and due to them, the temperature become increased. And the major cause for that increase in temperature by the industrial area or by the pollutants. Either it is the water pollutants and mostly by the air pollutants. So pollutants play very important roles, and for that greenhouse gases, and then the phenomenon like the global warming process which are going on, and for that the ozone depletion. So first of all, so the increase of the higher in this particular temperature fluctuation, so we have to control it, we have to maintain it, we have to mitigate it for that part. Before that, we are going that because Earth, the 5 later word, but it have all these things. Then Panch Mahabhut hoy છે. So in Panch Mahabhut, there's all this kind of content. There's all this Jal, Vayu, Agni, Akash, Pavan, બધું જ એમાં સમાવેશ થાય છે. On that part, the Earth crust is the thinnest and the most rudimentary layer that makes up the Earth. And yet, everything that has ever lived on Earth has called it home. The crust is dynamic structure and it's one of the layers that makes up a pale blue dot. The crust is referred to as a chemical layer that has varying chemical composition. Two main type of crust are oceanic crust and the continental crust, and they are different from each other. The differences are due to the plate tectonics, which then refers to plates and the movement of the plates above this asthenosphere driving lithosphere process the result in the formation and production of natural phenomenon such as earthquake and ridges. The crust is one of the 5 chemical layers of the Earth and is differentiated to show the distinct chemical properties occurring at each layer. The Earth crust with the upper mantle has its necessary role in the dynamic creation and destruction of the crystal surface in which all living organisms thrive on. The chapter will look at various aspects of the crust and it will discuss the origin, structure and composition of the crust before exploring its continued evolution to the day. Here, generally on the Earth part, in environmental studies, the unit where the ecosystem is must, the well, lakes, springs, ponds, rivers, which are all freshwater ecosystem, the rocky coast, sand dunes, estuary, salt, marsh, sea, ocean, coral reef are all the marine ecosystem. Also the grassland, forest, mountain, desert, agriculture, field, urban, village. These are all these terrestrial ecosystem. So before this study about this particular, the climate condition, the weather effect, the various components of the climate or weathers, we have to understand about this particular ecosystem, because here where you can see that all these different kind of ecosystem here, either it is the terrestrial ecosystem or either it is a freshwater or marine water ecosystem. So each and every ecosystem play an important role for that, because it's of the biotic component and abiotic component. Biotic component which is biological organisms which are included in it, and abiotic component where they all the wind or maybe temperature, rainfall, this adaptive factors, all that included in abiotic factor. So interconnections between these abiotic and abiotic factors which are play an important role to maintain the nature. The Earth's climate arises from the interaction of 5 major climate system components like the atmosphere by means of air, the hydrospheres by means of water, the cryosphere, the ice and this permafrost, the lithosphere, the Earth's upper rocky layer, and the biosphere like the living things. The water cycle also move energy throughout the climate system. When you are going for the environment engineering, the component of environment is to interaction and interdependence of various components of the environment. The ecosystem, the natural resources, natural hazards, man-made hazards, and pollutants control. So mostly in this academic way, all students and all this subject lovers, those who are familiar with this, all these words and phenomenon. But it is necessary to highlight all the content regarding to this environment engineering. So from that part, ecosystem, natural resources, the natural hazards or calamities, the man-made hazard like this industries or atom bomb explosion, and whether the pollutants which are present in more in number in water or air or other content. So it is by these pollutants. So here we have to talk about this, all this kind. The types of environment is also its necessary part for this Earth's composition, where the atmosphere, and in this atmosphere you say the troposphere, the stratosphere, mesosphere and thermosphere there. Also the hydrosphere, one of the key part, which are have mostly the more than 70% part which are covered on this Earth's surface. The hydrosphere, the water bodies cover 146,000 cubic kilometer area in the world, where the ocean and sea, which covers this 97%, the polar ice caps and glaciers covers the 2%, and the freshwater, groundwater and atmospheric vapor, which constitute 1%. Also, the major part of this lithosphere also there, where the solid components and made up of the rocks and soil and minerals. Also, so the living organism, where the sphere of life, the plant, animal, microorganisms and human beings, which are lived together in this biosphere. So these types of environment is also there, each and every part. Either we talk about the atmosphere, if any kind of the changes in that, so we have this climate change. In hydrosphere, any kind of changes, it is said that it is climate change. If any kind of lithosphere activities and biosphere, so the climate change is there. Here also we have known that the renewable and non-renewable energy, because before that was Vital Saji, which are mentioned all those things about this, some adaptations and for that part. But there is some alternate energy resources to fossil fuels is necessary part to preserve our earth, because we have some renewable energy, some non-renewable energy. And before that, instead of the coal, oil and natural gases, so we are apart for that part in the energy resources, that solar energy, tidal energy, wind energy, hydropower, geothermal energy, biomass energy and nuclear power. These are the content where we are trying to move forward that part. For that earth protection, that maintenance of natural resources. Because when we say that all these kind of contents like this biodiversity, which are generally mentioned about this Vital Saji, the biodiversity or maybe forest area, some agricultural land, these are all these natural resources. So we have to maintain all the natural resources for that. So control of pollution is there, new sources of foods, then human welfare, then evolution, genetics, agriculture, afforestation, forest management, fisheries management, wildlife management, conservation of rare species. These are all these part contained where we need for this earth protection. So there are several mitigation methods such used for this alternative green energy sources. So here now, instead of this plastic bag uses, we are going for this some kind of this herbal made plastics for that, and organic product which we are need for that. So we are trying to the natural resources from that part, because they know just some kind of content which are non-degradable. So some kind of degraded material we have to use, some natural degradable material, easily generally some kind of fungi or maybe others part which are consume it, or maybe some kind of enzyme they have, so they degrade it. So this kind of material, if it has, so we can less polluted part of our in adaptive part of role, and no plastics theory, and for that, so the alternate of this plastic also which are from that part, alternative green energy sources which we have to need for that, reducing the use of fossil fuels, which is a major demand for that nowadays, that we are using some kind of this electric car or electric bikes we made from that part. Use of greenhouse gases reduction technique during the emission, then carbon capture and carbon sequestration, afforestation, the reforestation, protection of existing forest reserves. The silviculture and agroforestry are being facilitated by several international governments and non-government organizations. The climate change issue can be handled either adapting to the change or disaster risk reduction. UNDP has suggested a three-step method to work on carbon finance consists of particular part where the removal of barriers to climate-friendly technologies, establishing efficient host-country procedure for clean development mechanism, and develop project via Millennium Development Goal carbon facility. An integrated territorial climate plan was designed for regional government to plan their activities, including financial climate change mitigation process. These are the context which are given by this Srivastavaji in her talk. So mostly the financial matter on Earth, generally by the action plan, by the adaptation, by the mitigation, by the education, by the awareness program that we are trying to make. So maximum conservation and maximum preservation of the climate on the earth. So this is a very less time to be we have, but mostly in that during this 20-25 minutes, so I compile all those things for that part. But on Earth Day, that we are trying to preserve this climate on Earth. Each and every part, each and every sector, each and every environment, each and every component on Earth where this look after. But the natural resources, we have to maintain it, we have to conserve it, all by means of that. So thank you to give me this opportunity for that particular talk today. Thank you.
Thank you, sir, for your exceptional presentation. Now, the platform is open for discussion and the questions raised by the participants, and also our panelists are eager to answer your raised queries. The question is for Mr. Shwetal Shah. Sir?
Yes, please.
Yeah. So the question is, the person have read some research that talk about the disposal of solar panel. So he wants to know the alternative to tackle these as a problem.
Yes, we many times hear a similar query of disposal of, say, a solar panel. So I think it is easier than the disposal of our used mobile phones. So we use many electronic items in our daily life. And since 2016, we have e-waste management regulation in our country. So under this, we have very systematic approach to collect the electronic waste, and I think solar panel is very easy to collect because someone will not say dump it in along with municipal waste. So anywhere in the world, this is not an issue, and it can be very manageable sort of affair.
Thank you, sir. The next question is for Dr. Bharat Maitreya. What is the difference between preserving climate and mitigating climate? And which one would be more feasible when it comes in executing our actions generally for the common people?
So generally, what is the natural resources which are found in on Earth's surface? So mostly likely that if we are talking about the biodiversity or the living organism is there, which have also lots of number of species is there. So most of the species which are being hunted by the human beings. So it is mostly decrease in the number of the species. We have found some rare species also there. So these are all the species, because we talk about the ecosystem where all these components, where they are primary producers or any kind of trophic levels, either it is animals or maybe birds or microorganisms, they play every important role in the environment. If we are taking off any kind of one part or maybe one chain or one interconnection link between them, so we are not preserved such ecosystem is there. So some preservation is also, conservation is also there. And for the mitigation portion is there. So when, if we are saying that this kind of particular environment which are not favorable for us, because of if any kind of the heavy rainfall, if kind of this increase in the temperature portions, so at that part, if in unfavorable condition, we are not live regularly, or mostly we are saying that very happily we are not live there. So for that part, some kind of this mitigation portion is also there, because where we are, it is not in our hand. But if any anthropogenic activity is there, so we can mitigate all things. So mitigation, ગુજરાતીમાં આપણે કહીએ છીએ કે શમન કરવું અને પ્રિઝર્વ કરવું છે, એટલે કે એને સંવર્ધન કરવું છે અને સાચવી રાખવું છે. આ બે વસ્તુનો આમાં ફેર છે. So each and every part, either it is the physical properties, either it is in the chemical or maybe biological part of the way in the biodiversity, these are the play an important role for that part. So if we have tried to mitigate all those things for that portion to conserve or maybe reserve our better future on Earth.
Thank you very much, sir. Sir, the next question is for Dr. Rajesh Kumar Acharya. Sir, the question is, does global cooling exist in this hype of global warming? Because there have been studies that all the previous extinctions have taken place when the earth froze. Probably we may be heading towards the another ice age, perhaps.
Actually, global warming or global cooling, it is different theories. It is hypothesis. And as per the natural law, natural theory, to say that there was an ice age, it doesn't enter into my mind. There was no ice age according to me. If we are living in Himalayas, and if we say that this is an ice age, it is ice only for certain areas. But they are talking about ice age before few thousand years ago. At that time, there was no traveling. People couldn't travel anywhere. So just very cold weather in certain areas cannot be considered as an ice age for the entire globe. And if you look at natural science, when this earth was separated from the sun, 9 planets were separated. All were hot, very hot, red hot, gaseous. So we are the third from the sun. There were 9 or 10 planets came out. Even the 10th or 9th planet was very hot. Slowly, and sun was disseminating the energy, and slowly sun was disseminating slowly. So 9th or 10th planet was the first to cool down. It was there was a temperature required for living on the 9th or 10th planet. So that temperature range for living was coming slowly nearer to the sun. Now we are on the 3rd planet on Earth, we are having the temperature range for the living. What about the fourth planet? It is older than Earth, and second planet, it is hotter than Earth. So there was, according to whatever is said, it is just a hypothesis or theory that there was a ice age. And let us think over it again and again, whether there was an ice age, it is a myth or truth. That is what I believe. Thank you.
Thank you very much, sir. Thank you, everyone. Now, I request Mr. Zarnish Kanodia to appraise this gathering with his vote of thanks. Mr. Zarnish Kanodia works as a scientific officer at Nanoland. He is a postgraduate in climate change impacts management from School of Science, Gujarat University. Zarnish is mainly focused on research generally associated with paleoclimate and glaciers in the climatic wildlife. I now request Mr. Zarnish Kanodia to deliver a vote of thanks.
Good evening, everyone. This webinar coordinated by Nanoland Limited on how we can preserve the Earth's climate was surely an informative and illuminating one. I might want to say thanks to Dr. Rajesh Kumar Acharya, Chief Scientific Advisor at Nanoland Limited, for organizing this webinar, which would take research to another level. Dr. Acharya has guided Nanoland and its research group consistently for certain uncommon thoughts, perhaps it to be subjective or non-abstract. However, they have consistently opened our mind to think past what everything others can think. I would like to thank him in the interest of the relative multitude of our participants. I would also like to thank him for delivering exceptional knowledge on climate change and explaining in detail about the importance of renewable energy and the bounty of it our planet has. I would like to extend my appreciation to our second speaker, Mr. Shwetal Shah, Technical Advisor, Climate Change Department, Government of Gujarat, for conveying such a proactive speech and presentation on our Earth's health, pressure of population on our nature, and explaining the responsibilities of all countries and international organizations in fighting climate change. His essence has set an ideal platform for our speakers to start this webinar on an engaging note. Next, I would like to thank our third speaker of the webinar, Mr. Brijesh Srivastava, climate change consultant at the United Nations Development Programme, for conferring us the information on climate financing, how it helps in supporting the adaptation and mitigation, the background of climate financing. Mr. Srivastava superbly started his presentation clarifying the need for climate financing. He ended his presentation giving his ideas as a specialist in his space. Lastly, I would like to thank our fourth speaker, Dr. Bharat Maitre, Professor at the Department of Botany, Bioinformatics and Climate Change, School of Science, Gujarat University. Mr. Maitre gave a helpful and significant presentation on climate change research, policy and education. He clearly explained about global temperature increase and the indicators affecting climate change. I would like to thank our co-organizers, LD College of Engineering, Xavier Research Foundation and Gujarat Technological University, who have helped this webinar in being a success. In the end, I would like to thank our participants who have patiently been a good audience all through the webinar and without whom this online webinar would not have been conceivable. Thanks much, everybody. In conclusion, I might want to thank everyone on the individuals who have supported us directly or indirectly in the smooth working of this webinar till the end. We desire to have a particularly successful and advantageous webinar in future also. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you very much. In closing, I wish to express my gratitude to all the panelists and participants for their full cooperation. It offers me a chance to commemorate our success in pursuing excellence in the field of climate science, being such an interesting topic to share with. We are privileged to have in attendance such distinguished experts as well as observers, having such resourceful and knowledgeable researchers who have helped us to gain such an valuable insight about our climate. And once again, everyone, a very happy Earth Day. With this, we sum up our session with everyone to stay home and stay safe. Thank you for joining us, ladies and gentlemen.